Okay, so let's get started. Thanks everyone for joining the webinar today with Team Computers and VMware. Uh, I have Ravi Gunjan along with me from Team Computers. So Ravi, I'm just, if you can start.
Hello everyone, my name is Ravi Gunjan. I'm a part of Team Computers Private Limited. So I'm very glad to have you guys onboarded here. We are going to start a session, conducted by Nitin Kilvaker. So we would be talking about Workspace One capabilities. But before starting with this, I would just walk you through a brief introduction about Team Computers. So as you can see the first screen, so this is all about reimagining things. So at Team Computers, what we believe is we need to reimagine all the IT infrastructure before coming up with something and talking to the customers, right? Nathan, can you move out the slides? All right. So this is the journey so far. So as of now, it's been like more than 31 years for service that we are, we have a reach to across India when we have got like more than 750 locations out there that we are providing support and services. As of now, we have crossed like 1,200 crores of business that we have done, majorly into enterprise, mid-market, and government sectors. So as a part of services, we do have software development, analytics, sales, and other operations as well. So this is, you know, yeah. So this is the major building block that we have. So we deal in hardware, services, SMAC. You can, when we talk about SMAC, so this is basically our separate BU which deals with big data, like adoption, multi-cloud, enterprise performance, and all. You can see at the bottom we have got tie-up with partnership with major brands like Apple, Samsung, Lenovo, as well as we have got good multinational customers and great enterprise customers. So we are looking forward for your support, and let's leverage our entire focus and support to you guys, and let's see how we can take it forward. All right, thank you. So Nitin, over to you.
Hey, thanks a lot, Ravi. Uh, Thanks for the introduction about Team Computers. So let's quickly move on to our topic of discussion today, that is empowering digital workspace. So, I again want to reiterate that uh, uh, digital workspace is a very common or a complex scenario that most of the customers are facing, right? Uh, Today, typically we see that over a period of years, the device landscape in the organizations have completely changed. Uh, if I want to go back 10, 15 years back, wherein the focus was more about how do I make my employees more and more productive, or maybe make them connected to my network, to today, if you're talking about more of an innovation, more of an innovative products, and how does business and my employee are taken care hand in hand, right? So to give you a brief idea, most of the customers went with a traditional PCRM tool over a period of last 10 or 15 years or so, right? And then evolved a technology when with more and more handheld devices, with more and more mobile devices came into picture. A technology called MDM, mobile device management, came into picture. But with MDM, it was mostly coming, or it was mostly targeting on your mobile side of it, right? But if you've seen in last 5 years or so, it's all about applications. So we today live in application era. We live in an era which is completely dominated by application. So when I say application, it is predominantly coming either from a public cloud, a third party application, or it could be an internal developed application as well, right? Not to forget the next generation of devices, right? The IoT, the peripherals, right? Along with these applications, is putting a lot of pressure and demand on the IT teams, right? So a tool that can help you manage all of these endpoints along with the applications is something that most of the customers today in the market are looking out for, right? So typically what happens is we don't even know what the tool or the technology is all about. So for your introduction, we are going to talk something on the unified endpoint management technology. So let us see what exactly the challenge or the current problems that most of you today see in your organizations, right? So if you see, this is the 70 to 80% of our customers have a very siloed approach when it comes to the endpoint management. When I say endpoint management, I'm talking predominantly here all about your devices which are physical, right? So when I say physical devices, the things that come to my or your mind would be a mobile device, or it could be a desktop device, could be any, let's say, a Mac or Windows 10, right? But not to forget the line of business, right, where this is the key driver for your organization to move ahead and make more and more profits, right? It is always that always a there's always a perseverance that IT teams are not helping the or contributing towards the business. IT teams are more focusing on towards onboarding the user, or maybe helping or providing some kind of a level of access to my employees, right? What Workspace One, or what the technology that we are going to talk today, is basically trying to help you break these silos, right? Not to forget what actually is why these silos are very costly and cumbersome, is because these different silo teams spend different man hours, right? Different productive hours in just getting the basic management for these endpoints. So you will have a mobile team which would have started some kind of an initiative of let's say a BYOD project, or let's say a field force automation project, wherein the mobile teams have set up some kind of a compliance or policy with an MDM tool, right? On the other hand, we have your desktop teams who would have spent around 200 plus days to just ensure that my devices are secure, safe and secure, and not focusing or not getting any threat from from and in fact the line of business is where your demand or your focus should be, because that is what drives your organization business and profit and outcomes. Okay, so what we have done with unified endpoint management technology, right? It basically eliminates your silos, the IT silos that I talked about in last slide, right? That is what we are trying to achieve with the Workspace One unified endpoint management solution. Okay, so what VMware Workspace One does, it provides any application on any device, and it can be of any use case. So with this, I would just want to give a pause, and I'm sure this is a scenario that everyone has gone in your day-to-day lives, right? If you purchase a phone recently, let's say in 6 months back or 1 year, right, you would have gone and chose any phone with any operating system with of your own choice, right? No one from the OEM came and actually helped you in managing those endpoints. As a consumer, you just purchase a phone, you started adopting and you started using the phone. So if it was an Android, you just enter your Gmail account. If it was an iOS, you just entered your Apple ID, and you were all productive from first 5 minutes of purchasing or first 5 minutes of opening the device from the box, right? That is the consumer simplicity that we want to try and get and achieve when it comes to your corporate environment as well. So with this scenario, I would want to keep this for you always on top of your mind, that if my consumer experience is so simple, right? If my consumer side of the business is so simple, why not I bring that simplicity and flexibility to my corporate end users as well? And that's what the most of the IT team or IT people on the call, right, should be always thinking about. Why can't I make my employees more and more productive, and why can't I make them more and more simplified use case to make them more and more productive, right? While Workspace One is helps you provide complete endpoint management, What powers is basically an true intelligent driven digital workspace platform. So Workspace One, if you remember, as I said, it's not a point to point or a solution product wherein you do basic MDM, you do basic Mac management, you do basic device management, you do basic application management, right? Workspace One is the industry first intelligent driven digital workspace platform, which will actually not only help you with respect to your employee onboarding, but also give them a complete corporate IT experience along with managing the applications. The way you manage the way you manage these endpoints, I'll come to that, giving you a complete end-to-end insights along with some kind of an automation inbuilt with the platform. So if you can see, iOS, Android, Windows 10, Mac, Chrome, you pick up any endpoint, right? Digital workspace platform Workspace One provides you a complete end-to-end scenario, right? And not to forget the rugged devices or the IoT devices, which are going to soon start, or I think some of our customers already started the rugged or the IoT journey. But if you're looking for some kind of a management or some kind of a IoT devices in your organizations, again Workspace One helps you with that particular use case as well. Now, moving on to the topic of our today, the focus area of our webinar today is basically the modern management, right? So while there's a technology that I talked about, MDM has been in the system for last 4 5 years or more than, right? Modern desktop management is something that the key focus is shifted towards when it comes to a true unified endpoint management. The importance of why to have modern desktop management, especially when it comes to Windows or a Mac endpoint, is because today everything can be managed from a cloud, right? Today, Mac or a Windows 10 endpoint is no different than your mobile device, right? A Windows 10 or a Mac can be managed as similar to your Android or to your iOS device as well. What options or what flexibility parameters that you get is basically you get your devices onboarded from day zero, right? Provide a self-service empowerment to your employees, right? So gone are the days when IT is stuck in, or is stuck in IT tickets which say that, hey, you know what, I need help with my password management, I need help with my password reset, right? I need to get access to that particular application, I need to get access to this particular hardware, right? With the self-service empowerment, your employees can now pick up a device, get productive, raise some application request, get those application completely in an automated manner, right? Since these endpoints are also, as I said, it's like a mobile operating system, Windows 10 and Mac, the devices are always up to date, not like your traditional PCM or like a Windows 7 or a Windows 10, Windows 8 machine, wherein you have to do the lot of patching, updating, and all sorts of basic IT stuff, right? Not to forget the new architecture that VMware is following, that zero trust architecture, the ZTA new technology, right? Which is one of the key parameters in thinking. You should be thinking on top of your head, because PCLM tools, the traditional PCM tools, are the legacy on-premise setup, right? You should be thinking more of a more modern or of a more cloud-based approach, wherein all your mundane tasks are automated and can be done or delivered with the cloud-based technology. So with that, I will move to the first section of the first topic, or the first section of the webinar today is basically the modern management. As I mentioned earlier, Windows 10 is basically it's kind of a mobile operating system for me, right? So it is best suited for a cloud-based management as compared to your traditional PCLM tools, which are your on-premise, which needs a lot of internal servers to be deployed, which needs a lot of manpower, a lot of expertise, a lot of resources to be deployed for me to manage my Windows endpoints, right? Windows 10, as I said, it needs a modern way of management. Okay, and to I would also want to quote that Microsoft's own IT teams is moving away from the traditional PCM tools and trying to get a better way of solution to manage the internal Windows 10 with a modern way, right? So what's this all modern way all about, right? And I say modern way, a modern management is completely basically moving from your traditional high touch deployment wherein the PCs have to be manually configured by the IT team. The configuration happen only when the users are in the network. The patches takes maybe 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, right? And even the applications are very heavy and critical, right? But on the other hand, what happens is the security is the parameter which is highly impacted. Now let's look into the modern way of management, right? The modern way of management is the way that I talked about when I gave an example about how do you what was the experience when you purchase a new phone, right? It was all out of the box. You just enter your Gmail credential or your Apple credentials. Okay, all the configuration started coming over the air, and the device need not be part of my network or my domain, right? An employee can be productive from any network, anywhere, wherever he is trying to get, when he's trying to get productive, right? The configuration, right? It takes maybe a matter of 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes maximum. Okay. Not to forget, also with more and more modern way of management, you also get a lot of security parameters when it comes to the real-time detection and remediation of the with the modern way of management. Right. So let's deep dive into what Windows 10 provides capabilities for a modern Workspace One or a unified endpoint management tool. Right. So with this, as I said, most of the key mundane regular tasks are completely automated. So onboarding, right? The configurations, your security parameters, they're self-service, right? Let's see what all these each of these parameters or features all about, right? I mentioned about the onboarding, so we can do an out of the box or an autopilot kind of a experience wherein the user opens the laptop. Let's say it's a Windows 10 PC or it's a Mac device. The user gets onboarded from day zero, right? Configurations, compliance, helping you boost the productivity by giving a self-service portal, right? And also not to forget the automated intelligence and insights that we have with Workspace ONE. Okay. Now, with this, I would want to deep dive on each of these different parameters for PC management tool. So as I said, a traditional PCM tool can be divided into 4 or 5 different buckets, right? Starting off with the out of the box or the onboarding of the user, right? What VMware Workspace ONE has done is basically, if you traditionally, if you see today, if the user or if the IT team buys an endpoint, it typically comes from the factory to a distributor. From a distributor, it goes to if you have a IT team, if you have an integrator who sits and does the configuration in the backend, and then it comes to the IT team, and then the end user takes that device and gets onboarded. So this entire process usually takes around 1 week in a minimum period of time, considering you got the device fast from the OEM, you got it configured by the integrator, and then your IT team has set up some policies which are common across all the users, right? But with Workspace ONE, what we can do is the modern way of management. We provide something as zero touch onboarding for day one user productivity. And this is something that we have achieved with Dell factory provisioning because Dell and VMware Workspace ONE has a joint partnership which helps customers the way you manage your endpoints, Windows and endpoints in a more modern PC deployment, right? So what are the advantages, right? The advantage is, first thing, that you can go back and talk with your HR team saying that, hey, you know what, I'm going to, and if you want to onboard my users tomorrow, let's say next Monday, I do not need to spend a time of 1 week or 2 weeks before the employee joins, right? I am me as an IT team, I'm ready to onboard n number of users at any given point of time, because I have configured this I'm using this as a modern PC deployment, and I don't care when your employees are joining or when new set of employees are joining. So that's one perspective. The other perspective is the employee who joins on, let's say, next Monday, is ready to work from end by maybe in a couple of hours. So imagine there's a critical resource that you are expecting to join an organization, and if the person joins on Monday and for next 1 week he's still busy with, I don't have access to my applications, I don't have the required hardware assets, I don't have access to different tools, right? Then the whole onboarding experience of the user is not very great. At the same time, he spends 1 week of joining the company and taking that 1 week of salary, and but he's not productive and he's not actually helping you achieve anything in the business, right? So let's see how a typical, let's say, a Windows 10 end user can be provisioned with. Okay, so we have in this demo we have a user called Tony Stark. He joins the organizations on day one, and when he joins, he can see that, hey, there's already an application called as Workspace One, which is already installed or pre-configured on his Windows 10 Dell machine, right? Since he's new to the organization, he's not sure where to get applications and all. He tries to go and download an application called Slack for Windows from some third-party website. So you can see the user went, he downloaded the application called as Slack, but when he tries to run that application, he said it gets an alert or pop-up saying that, hey, you know what, your organization has not allowed you to install that application. So you can see, you can imagine there's so much of threat that the user might bring when he goes to some untrusted third-party website and downloads that. On the other hand, if you see now, the user is given an access to Workspace One app catalog. The user goes to the app catalog, downloads the Slack, and the Slack is ready to be installed, and the user can start using the Slack application from his device. So you can see Slack is now installed. So if you see, this is how beautifully you can create a self-service kind of portal, wherein the employee logs into the portal, downloads the application in a complete secure manner. Now the IT teams are sure that the application that the user is trying to go and download is actually coming from my corporate app catalog, right? And it does not have any kind of virus. It does not it does not have any kind of a malware which might impact my endpoints. Okay, so I hope that that demo will help you give a visualization of how Workspace One can provide a productive app catalog completely customized to your organization. With that, I would now move ahead and show, if you remember, I went from the IT driven to a user driven onboarding, right? So we have different options which can help you in onboarding multiple types of user, because not every company would want to go with the whole out of the box experience, but based on the devices, based on the platforms, based on the applications, you can pick and choose how you want to manage your Windows 10 endpoints in your organization. Okay, so as you remember, there are a lot of let's take a pause. And if you remember, now that I showed you the end user experience of out of the box experience, right? What typically happens for the customers who are using a lot of configurations, right? So hey, you will say, hey, you know what, Nathan, while this is all great, right, but there are a lot of configurations that I would want to also publish, or I would want to also push on these on my endpoints, right? So this could be a device level policy, it could be a security patch, it could be publishing of applications, right? What VMware Workspace One has done is it has completely simplified the way you manage these endpoints. Okay, we have come up with something called as a simple baselines. We have something called as standard baseline configurations, which if you are new to Workspace One, you don't need to worry. We give you the baseline, you choose a baseline, and you can start you can start using the templates, and you can start using it for your organization. For example, in this case, there are like two baselines on the screen, but one is the Windows 10 security baseline and the CIS benchmark. So now when you onboard with newly with Workspace One and you have your endpoints, you don't want to actually go ahead and spend a lot of time in saying that, hey, you know what configurations I should be putting, what are the policies I should be putting, right? If you take these baselines as your benchmark, you can start building lot of lot of use cases or lot of parameters from these pre-configured baselines in your organization. Okay, so let me quickly show you a demo of how a baseline works. So the administrator logs into the Workspace One admin console. He chooses, see, in this case, you can also see an HIPAA compliance. If you're coming from a pharma domain, right? You can just choose those HIPAA compliance and you can start compliant and you can start creating that for Windows 10. So in this case, I can also further go and customize. So let's say the benchmark or the baseline that I'm using is basically giving me an option to set up a password for 10 days. I can change and go ahead and change it to maybe 14 days. And also I can add an additional profile or a policy based on my internal requirements. Not all customers. So benchmarks are great. I can further go ahead and add and remove or change those parameters from my Workspace on console. So you can see I just went and I uploaded the baseline, and your baseline have been already saved. So you can see how beautiful or how easy it is for an IT administrator to get onboarded with Workspace One. It just click of a button, and you don't need to actually go and sit and scratch your head and find one by one policies and then start applying it to the devices. Coming to the granularity of the endpoints, right? So while you saw onboarding options, right? From the configuration part, we also have a lot of modern MDM profiles that are also uh, part of the entire PCLM stacks or the PC stack, right? There are traditional PC management tools wherein we also leverage the existing GPUs. We also can manage core device functionalities it can be a, like BIOS or a firmware upgrade, or a BIOS or a firmware parameters, or it could be the more modern MDM profile that I was talking about from the over the air with Workspace One Cloud or Workspace One SaaS instance. So coming to the third topic of patch management, right? So when we interact with most of our customers, the most critical or the most challenging thing today the customers are facing is basically, how do I do a patch management? How do I ensure that all my endpoints are upgraded and patched to the required minimum standard version or minimum safe version of the patches provided by Microsoft or by any other vendor, right? What Workspace One can do, you can go granular. Instead of doing a granular manual publishing, we can go with an auto approval or even a cloud-based granular control or a hybrid control with Workspace One, right? So we can customize this the way you want to do the patch compliance. Uh, while that is all about the patch compliance, we also have if you want to keep your if you want to also want to keep your devices up to date, you also can integrate with NIST. Basically, based on the different CV scores, we can also ensure that my endpoints are completely secured and are completely updated. So basically, we can run a compliance engine and ensure that the patch required based on the CV score. So let's say 9.3 or whatever score that CV provides. I can ensure that these endpoints are completely patched and always upgraded uh, as per my IT IT compliance policies. So coming to the different software distribution part of it, right? So simplifying access and management for different types. So if you see onboarding, onboarding was one thing, then the configuration, third was the patch, and now coming to the software app distribution. So if you see, not all customers today are still leveraging the old way of application, that is your desktop Win32 or Win64-bit applications, right? A lot of customers today have gone with cloud applications, with store application, the UWP, universal Windows platform applications, store apps, right? Managing each of these different type of applications takes a lot of efforts and energy from the IT teams as well, right? What we have gone ahead and made ensure that the employee or the IT teams are not restricted to only publishing of the legacy Win32 applications. We have completely simplified the way you do an entire app lifecycle management with, for even including the traditional Windows 32 applications. Now, a lot of customers also ask us about, hey, you know what, now with a lot of heavy applications, what about my bandwidth, what about my if the devices are let's say always on the network, how do I control, or how do I ensure that my bandwidth is not getting choked, right? So what we have done is we leverage the CDN or CDN vendors, that is from the cloud, and also we leverage the peer-to-peer technology which comes along with Windows 10 platform as well. So that means you do not want to deploy like the unlike the traditional PCM tools, wherein you have to have a lot of relay servers, you have to have a lot of local servers to be deployed to do any kind of software or patch management. We have completely moved to a CDN, more cloud friendly, and we also leverage the native peer-to-peer technology which comes along with Windows 10 platform as well. So last but not the least, Windows 10 also provides us a lot of security features. So when I say security features, it is completely based on the WIP, the Windows Information Protection, so wherein you are ensured that your end-to-end security from your device to data center is taken care across your endpoint, your when it comes to identity, application data, network, and also the automated compliance engine that I talked in some time back. So, as we know, the traditional PCLM tool, most of the customers are using, it's highly completely with a siloed based management. They have to maintain all the servers, and it's a completely a high-end capex model, right? But we are trying to get a bridge between the traditional and the modern way of management, right? We always want to have a modern way of management, and it's like an OPEX model, right? And instead of doing a siloed approach, I would want to have everything unified in one pane of glass. At the same time, instead of just maintaining the servers, I would want to do more of a transformational business or transformational IT team, right? With for that, how do I start, or where do I start the how do I start the management from traditional to a modern management tool, right? Don't worry, Workspace One also has an application, has also a tool called as Workspace One Airlift, which actually helps you migrate your legacy traditional PCLM management, all those GPO policies, and we can help you onboard to a cloud-based Workspace One modern management, right? So we do not want to tell you that, hey, you know what, you stop your traditional PC management tool and you migrate to the Workspace One modern way of management, right? You can coexist with your traditional PCM tools, and over a period of time, you can start upgrading or start airlifting your policies, which are more simpler than just doing it the traditional way. And airlift as an application or a tool will definitely help you when it comes to the overall management of Windows 10 and migration from a traditional to a modern way of management. Okay, so with that, I will take a quick pause now because if you have any questions or queries, we are towards like we have completed the first half of the Windows 10 management, and then I will take a pause, and I would request, if you have any queries or questions, feel free to put the questions on the chat, over the chat, and we will be happy to take those questions towards the end of it. Because now we will be moving to the Mac management, which is also on the same lines, can be beautifully managed simpler in a simpler way with Workspace One. Okay, so if there are no questions, I would move on to the next topic, that is Mac management, or a Mac as a choice for Windows, Mac as a choice that VMware Workspace One or can be leveraged for in your organizations. So while we started off with our introduction, so Ravi did mention about that Mac or Apple has a lot of team members have a joint relationship or a good GTM with Apple. While those endpoints are all today traditionally sold as an hardware endpoint, but a tool or a software should also be leveraged, which can help you manage all these endpoints. So as I said, Mac is one of the new operating system that most of us are driving towards. A quick statistics that we found globally, that if there is an option given to your end users or to your employees, 3 out of 4 employees would choose a Mac over any other operating system, right? And overall, the retention among the Mac users is also seen around 98%, which is a very, very, very good score, which actually helps increase overall productivity and satisfaction for your employees within your organization. Now, with those statistics, it also becomes equally imperative for you as an IT team to have a more modern way of managing these endpoints. Okay, why VMware Workspace One can be leveraged is because it provides a better end user and consistent end user across any endpoints. We also have a good tie-up or a partnership with Apple Business Manager, which can be leveraged again with the same platform, the same single pane of glass, and it is easy for you to transition from Windows 10 or to any other Windows endpoints to Mac by by virtualizing the Windows 10 and also the application. So I'll come and talk in the towards the end of that. Okay, so now let's see what exactly VMware Workspace One can be used with Mac or an iOS platform, right? So we are providing a great support when it comes to volume purchase program. We also provide a single sign-on for all the third-party SaaS applications. You can also virtualize your existing Windows app, because see, the customers who are on Windows platform, when they try to migrate to Mac or Apple, they say that, hey, you know what, I have legacy applications which are not compatible on Mac. So if you are facing any challenges saying that, hey, my migration or my movement towards Mac is getting impacted because I do not have my legacy applications are not supported, don't worry. Workstation can also help you virtualize those existing legacy Windows applications and provide you a better management perspective. Okay, so let's see what the way you, if you remember, I mentioned about for my Windows 10 operating system. So deploy, configure, patch, distribute, and secure are the three, or sorry, are the 5 pillars or 5 buckets which Mac management can be done, or a modern Mac management can be done, right? So we are Workspace One can be used for the device enrollment program, the DEP, or the Apple Business Manager, along with providing an image list provisioning, which happens all over the air. The configuration, the patches, the distribution of the applications, and not to forget the security, right? So the way we do the encryption on Windows 10, similarly we do a 5-volt encryption for the Mac endpoints as well. Let's see a quick demo of how a Mac management end user can be onboarded, right? In this demo, I'm going to show you a user called Peter Parker, who's joining the organization on day 1. And when he opens his MacBook, he opens the MacBook and he starts giving his credentials, corporate credentials. And you can see how beautifully the Mac OD starts getting configured. So as I was speaking, the corporate wallpaper got changed once he logged in over the air. The user is now getting is the end the device is now started to download Microsoft Office package on the Mac, and you can see on the dock is completely configured. The dock is completely cluttered with all applications which are not required for me, but as in security policy, I can actually go ahead and configure this dock settings. I'm actually arranging my dock. See, now you can say the configuration got complete. The dock got completely customized. I can now, if the user wants to go and let's say try to go and access an application called Chess, which is not a productive application, you can see the IT has actually blocked him by pushing this configuration from VMware Workspace One. Okay, the way you saw the Workspace One on the Windows 10 device, you have the same or similar way or same end user experience when it comes to Mac, right? So I have all my applications deployed over the Workspace One app catalog. You can see the user got signed on to Dropbox without being prompted for any kind of URL or separate password. So you also get the single sign-on experience for all your internal third-party applications, which are SAML 2.0 and above compatible. Not to forget the application that I was talking about, the legacy Windows 10, or let's say some applications which are very, very critical. If you want to give application virtualization or desktop virtualization, we can also publish your applications on the same Workspace One app catalog. Okay, so why Workspace One for Mac as a choice program, right? We've been talking about what is that VMware Workspace One can provide on Windows 10 and Mac, right? But if you see, if you've already seen how beautifully on both the demos that I did, right? Workspace One can be the same single pane of glass for you to manage your any endpoint, right? A true unified endpoint management to manage even my Apple devices. I was talking about the end user experience because the theme of the call today is the digital workspace, right? It gives you a complete, consistent end user experience with the unified app catalog. So no matter when you migrate or when you move your users from Windows 10 or let's say a BYOD project or it's an Apple ecosystem, Apple devices, the end user experience still remains the same. Whatever I see it on my Android, I see it on my iOS, I see it on my Chrome, I can see it on my Windows 10, I can see it on my Mac, right? End user experience is never impacted as such. Okay. We also integrate with a lot of leading tools and other technologies that Apple is also providing, because we have a joint tie-up with or partnership with Apple as well in our at our headquarters, and our R&D teams are closely working on any new operating system that or any new tools that Apple is also developing in the near coming future. So that was on the Mac management part of it. Quickly, I would also want to highlight, right, Workspace One for Horizon. So if you remember, VMware is actually pursued by a lot of our customers and partners a as a as a tool to basically manage virtualize kind of a setup, right? When I say virtualization, it's like mostly a Windows. It can be a VM or it can be an app virtualization, which is also provided with Horizon, right? But the advanced Workspace One, which provides a unified endpoint management capabilities, can help you manage your physical endpoints, right? That's what we discussed today. The Windows 10, the Chrome, the Mac, the any endpoint that is physical can be deployed over the air, and you saw the entire app lifecycle, the device lifecycle can be done for the physical world, right? The same platform, Workspace One, can actually also help you to to actually also manage your Windows 10, also to manage your virtual endpoints, that is basically which comes from your app virtualization technology, or even the Horizon desktop, or a VDI technology that VMware provides. Okay, so let me take a quick pause and see if there are any questions in the chat window. Okay, just to quickly recap, if you are not able to speak because we've actually everyone is on mute right now, but if you have any questions or queries around VMware Workspace One, feel free to raise your questions or queries over the chat. I think there are a couple of questions. Okay, so there is one question which is being asked, that does VMware Workspace One can also manage my my Linux endpoints, okay, or let's say Linux operating system. So yes, thanks for the question. VMware Workspace One does provide uh, basic or a standard level of management when it comes to a Linux endpoint as well. So that actually means that the same Workspace One console for your any endpoint. So that's what we are talking about, right? It's not only the Linux endpoint, but we also can manage your rugged devices. We can also manage your the peripherals, your IoT devices, your variables as well, right? So yes, thanks for the question. VMware Workspace One supports of late Linux endpoints as well. Okay. Uh, Let me see if there are any other further questions. Okay, I think if there are no further questions, we would be wrapping up the call. But yes, we really appreciate for your time today. VMware and together. Thanks for time on call today, and keep looking forward for such kind of webinars in future. And also to just to quickly highlight that since you have shown this kind of interest and you have actually participated today in our webinar today, we are actually going to roll out, or everyone on the call will be getting a free 30-day free trial to our VMware Workspace One technology over on a portal called as VMware Test Drive. So that is as an appreciation of as a token of appreciation from our end, because you have spent 1 hour of your time from a busy schedule and come and trying to understand what Workspace One is all about. So we would, after this call, maybe by today end of the day or by tomorrow, you will also get uh, a free trial link, which you would be getting access to explore all of these technology that I talked about. So I only talked about today Windows 10 and Mac, but I also covered uh, quickly around the overall unified endpoint management. So you also will be getting a feedback form post this call, and along with the free trial link that will be sent. So if you once you receive the feedback form, it's an online question that you'll have to answer a couple of questions, and then you will also be getting the free trial link wherein you will be getting access to 30-day free trial. Okay, so with that we would be wrapping up our call or the webinar today, and thanks once again for everyone for joining. and have a good evening ahead and a good day ahead. Okay, bye bye.